Hello there. My name is Sarah MCDaris. I live in the state of Alabama, and of course so do you. Alabama is one of the 50 states which make up the United States of America. You and I are especially interested in the state of Alabama because it is our state. You and I are going to take some television trips to let us know a little bit more about the things that have happened in Alabama. We'll visit historical places along the way, places where Indians have lived, where the Civil War was fought, where rockets were made. And along the way, I'm going to tell you some interesting stories, and we're going to meet some fascinating people. In thinking it over, I've decided that probably the best place to begin would be at the State Department of Archives and History, which is located in Montgomery, Alabama. By means of modern technological magic, you and I can get there just like this. So, why don't we go? Hello, Mr. Howard.
How are you, Miss McDaris? We're glad to have you.
Thank you. I believe you're the director of the archive.
Yes, I am.
You're going to take us on a tour?
Yes, I'm looking forward to it.
That's very nice. We hope you'll come right along with us as we make a tour through the Archives and History building. Mr. Howard, what is this building about?
The building is about the history of Alabama and the records of the state of Alabama. The records we have in storage and the history we exhibit through paintings and various artifacts.
I see. Where do you suggest we begin our tour?
Well, I think the best place to begin is beginning with the Indians.
And where is that?
On the second floor. Let's go.
Those are certainly interesting-looking pots with a lid on them. What are they?
Those are burial urns.
Burial urns.
That was the custom of the Creeks, the way they disposed of their dead. These are children's burial urns, while these are for adults.
My goodness, that's a big pot, burial urn.
For a big man.
For a big man. What are these for, Mr. Howard?
They're for grinding grain into meal. The Indians put the corn in the bowl in the lower part and then ground just as you were doing. That's it.
What are these holes here for?
They were probably used in, with a stick and a thong for drills. They were used as the base for drilling.
Is this another burial urn?
No, that's a water jug. The objects in this particular case are what we'd call utensils. There's some over here for cooking. There's some further up that are also for water. Some of the bowls are highly ornamented. You see the three at the top have been painted, while those on the lower shelf have the design scratched in with some sharp-pointed tool.
Yes. What are these white things below the bowls?
Those are shell ornaments. That's Indian jewelry.
Indian jewelry?
The necklaces here and earbobs, earplugs here.
Earplugs. They wore them in their ears.
I'm afraid they did.
Those were the Moundville Indians, weren't they?
Yes, and the Indians along the creek banks, which is where, of course, the Creek Indians get their name. They had to be near water in order to get shells. These are mussel shells.
I think we should visit Moundville, don't you?
By all means.
I think we'll do that. Tell me, Mr. Howard, is that a dugout?
It is a dugout, and as the Indians found river transportation very necessary, such a thing as a dugout was a very necessary mode of conveyance for them.
Is it true that they burned fires on the inside to hollow them out?
They burned fires and they used stone instruments to scrape them out after they had burned them, to scrape away the charred wood. That dugout is supposed to be several hundred years old, maybe even 1,000.
My goodness. Mr. Howard, these don't look like Indian things.
Well, they are not actually Indian things. They're trade goods. They were traded to the Indians by Europeans once Columbus and then subsequent explorers came to North America. They began to trade with the Indians, and you'll see glass beads. The Indians could not make glass. Metal objects, earrings. Earrings got to be a little more delicate than the Indian earplugs. Thimbles.
Yes.
Of course, I think the Indians put holes in them and then strang them and would use them for jewelry instead of for sewing. The shell ornaments that we looked at a few minutes ago were duplicated in silver. And these gorgets and armlets were used by the Indians as jewelry, but they were given by British and French traders.
You mentioned the French. What did the French do in Alabama?
Well, of course, the French had the first permanent settlement in Alabama, and not only did they stay here during the 18th century, but during the 19th century, some of the Napoleonic refugees came to Alabama.
Oh, can we see something about them?
Yes, we certainly can, if we go to the French room.
Let's go.
Very good. The Vine and Olive Company was a group of Napoleonic refugees who fled from France following the defeat of Napoleon. They acquired some land in Alabama and were going to build a town. Of course, they were on the wrong land, so they had to move, and they had any number of problems. But one of the problems was they were not well equipped to live in the wilderness.
I see the fancy garments they were wearing.
They were accustomed to being at Napoleon's court, and to involve themselves in the physical labor of the frontier was a bit of a shock.
Yes.
It's interesting, I think, the artist had never been to Alabama, and he knew about the Canebrake. We call part of West Alabama the Canebrake because of the cane that goes there. And he didn't know what cane looked like, so he painted palm trees.
Here is Pierre Lemoine, Sierre Ile. Here are some French brick that they brought over to build a fort, Fort Louis de la Mobile, down on the Mobile River. Who is this gentleman, Mr. Howard?
William Rufus King, the only vice president of the United States from Alabama. And incidentally, the only vice president of the United States ever to take the oath of office outside the continental limits of the United States.
I believe that was in 1851.
That's right.
And then in 1818, didn't he help write Alabama's original Constitution?
He was a member of the Constitutional Convention that wrote the first Constitution, and was one of the first two senators elected by Alabama.
I thought I had heard of him before.
He was also minister to France. His china, silver, and crystal, of course, were his own. He brought them back to his plantation in Selma, and they were acquired by this department. And what we see here is a table set as it might have been set in the American Embassy in Paris in 1846.
So this is the music room?
Yes, this is the room in which we have the sort of instruments that Alabamians have had in their homes and have played through the years.
What is that?
This is a parlor organ from about 1900, a very popular instrument in its day.
I think we'll come back here and have a lesson on music.
All right, that'll be fine. Alabamians have participated in all wars in which the United States has fought. This is a case with uniforms of World War I, an officer's uniform and an enlisted man's uniform. We have a great many Civil War relics. In this case are some swords, canteens, a bugle, a flag, some buttons, just the things that soldiers brought home with them as souvenirs from their days in the Army, and their trunks all over the state that are filled with such items from World War II and the Civil War and even back to the War of 1812. For instance, the gun, the button, and the powder horns up from the War of 1812. But I want to show you something else. Let's go out in the hall.
All right. The walls of marble are beautiful in here.
And this is all Alabama marble. But this is what I wanted to show you.
Oh, I see. It's the flag case.
Yes, the flags that have flown over the state of Alabama.
I understand that Alabama didn't have a state flag until after the Confederate War.
That's right, 1895.
Yeah, and then
30 years after.
the Congress decided then that we needed a flag.
Well, the legislature.
The legislature did.
Adopted a flag which they said should be flown over the Capitol when the legislature was in session. That is, when the people of Alabama were, through their representatives, passing their laws, and at all other times it was appropriate to fly a flag, unless the governor should direct that the United States flag be flown instead.
I see. This is a display in Alabama's Natural Resources Room. This one is on agriculture, isn't it, Mr. Howard?
Yes. Alabama used to be a predominantly agricultural state. Today, our economy is more than 50% based on industry. But Alabamians produce as much foodstuffs as Alabamians could eat.
The textile business and industry?
Yes, it is an industry, and it's an industry based upon agriculture.
Cotton?
Yes, the growing of cotton is necessary to spinning and weaving textiles.
Making cloth?
That's right.
I know where we are now. We're in the library, aren't we?
That's right. We certainly are.
This is the room where people come to study about Alabama.
Yes, they come and use our reference material and various resources for the writing or reading of Alabama history.
Really? Do you find textbooks here, too?
As a matter of fact, here are some Alabama history textbooks.
Let's see if they're for the 4th grade.
Well, now, you may know better about that than I.
Exploring Alabama. This is Alabama. No Alabama. And there's one more that should be very interesting. 13 Alabama Ghosts and Jeffrey. Wasn't that a fascinating place to visit? You know, in that 15 minutes, you and I did not get to see even a third of the things that we could see in that building. I tell you what, if you and your family have a day or so for a trip, why don't you suggest going to Montgomery and visiting the State Department of Archives and History? You'll have a good time, I know. I'm looking forward to my next visit with you because then we will go to Russell Cave, a spot that I think is one of the best in our state. Until then, goodbye.
This has been a videotape production by the Huntsville Public Television Center.